Two express entry draws, interesting. It really got everybody's hopes high with when the week started. The first PNP draws, and then you have the what did I miss? Education draw. Then you had the trade category draw. Of course, long awaited. But that, also gave us an insight. Like, for example, if you have been watching the videos some time back, I talked about the fact that there was this ATIP notes which came out. And in the ATIP notes, it was indicated that when they will start conducting these draws for the categories, they would be conducting them every consecutive week or every alternate week. And I was thinking, how can they conduct a draw every alternate week, right? I mean, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the CEC draws? And suddenly, let me just get this one out. And suddenly, now it's making sense. Every time they're holding a category draw, they're having, after 2 weeks, they're having another category draw, and it's just going on and on. This had to happen. Again, if you're watching the videos that I do, then you already know that we've been talking about how many draw cycles are anticipated. And with these draw cycles anticipated, we also knew that category draws have to happen. And whenever the category draws will happen, then obviously there is going to be a bit of a lapse within the express entry. The problem here is with these express entry draws, ignoring CECs at this point of time is creating more pressure in the pool with our CECs. And that at this point of time is creating a bit of a problem for everybody around, right? I mean, first of all, it's creating stress, it's creating panic, it's like really creating a big problem with those people who have lost status, who are losing status, and they don't really know which direction this is going to go. Obviously, the panic, the lack of confidence, you just don't know which direction this whole thing is going to pan out, and yeah, all of that. So again, roller coaster, right? Each week, you wake up in the morning, you start the day, you start the week thinking, okay, this week is going to work out for me. And then again, IRCC plays out something totally different. But if you want to have some, if you want to feel good about things, then look at our southern neighbors, right? The United States of America. Look at what's happening over there. Look at all those people who have preferred to stay in the US with their H-1B, or because they have an H-1B and not taking the Canadian immigration route because they thought H-1B was much better. Look at what's happening over there. The day you're feeling bad, always look at that, what's happening over there, and you will know how difficult it is getting for them. I'm sure you've already heard by now that Trump has proclaimed that they would now be applying a fee of $100,000 per year for an H-1B visa. So a 3-year visa can cost you $300,000. Of course, it's the employers who are going to pay for this, not the applicant, of course. But how many employers are going to pay how much money for how many applicants? And therefore, H-1Bs, which were already so difficult to come by, that is going to make much more difficult. Therefore, there is sometimes, I'm not sure we have to always feel bad about what's happening around with us. Sometimes, there are things that are not going in anybody's favor across the world. There are rallies that are happening, anti-immigration rallies. I'm sure you've already heard of that. Pretty big one happened in London last week. Nearly 100,000 people, actually more than that. That's from what I'm hearing. People turned up in the UK. Similar rally happened in Australia. The rally that happened in Canada was thankfully, it ended without any untoward incidents, thankfully. But that happened at Christie Pitts Park. And in that rally, we had both opposing sides. We had the people who were in the favor of immigration, and then the other side, obviously, who were not in the favor of immigration, or rather, who were not in the favor of mass immigration. And that one, thankfully, did not really go into anything ugly, unlike what's happening in the UK, or what happened in the UK, what happened in Australia, or what happened in Ireland. And yeah, so things overall, all around, as far as immigration is concerned, is pretty worrisome. Having said that, Canadian immigration is thankfully not all that bad, though of course there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on express entry. There's a lot of pressure on the pool. There's a lot of pressure with people who are trying to score. But then, first thing, whenever you start thinking in these matters, first thing you have to understand is that we have more than 2.5 million temporary residents in Canada, more than that. Add to that, there are approximately 1 million undocumented workers in Canada, undocumented people, not entirely workers, but undocumented people in Canada. Each year, the economic immigration targets, economic immigration, I'm talking about the total immigration target, because the total immigration targets includes the refugees, includes the family, includes the business, includes the spousal sponsorship, etc. So includes all of them. But I'm talking about the economic immigration, the express entry, the PNPs, the pilot programs, etc. So those numbers are in the range of 230,000, in the range of 230,000 per year. If your temporary residents are going to be more than 2.5 million and the targets is only 230,000 available, what are we looking at, right? It's going to be less than 10% who are actually going to get through. Less than 10% means 90% people who are currently in Canada will not have a pathway. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you realize this, the sooner you wake up to this, the sooner you'll come to terms with this reality. A lot of you will not have an option. A lot of you will not find a pathway no matter how hard you try. The sooner you are aware, the sooner you are familiar with your profile, with your chances, the sooner you will be able to find pathways inside Canada, outside Canada, other countries, other options, going back to your home country, whatever that might be. The sooner you understand that, the sooner you will be able to find other options as well. Today is the weekly roundup, and some people are just commenting, and I just want to quickly talk about that. And this one is, did you change the time of your live sessions on Saturdays? Not really. I've been traveling. Last week, I just couldn't do one. Today, there have been some other aspects which did not allow me to do my live stream at a regular time, and therefore I had to do it a bit delayed. Apologies for that one. Hopefully from next week onwards, we can get back to our regular time of the live stream. Other than that, let's get started with the weekly roundup, and then we can see what else we have to talk about. Starting with the express entry draws, the PNP draw happened on the 15th of September. 228 invitations were sent out for 746 score. So, a lot of times people have been asking, why is it that only 228 invitations being sent out for PNP? Well, the reason for that is, I'm sure you're already aware, that 50% quotas were slashed. With 50% quotas being slashed, obviously the provinces are not issuing as many nominations as they earlier were issuing them out. And with that, fewer nominations coming out, obviously PNP draws are also going to be less in numbers. So that shouldn't be a surprise at all. But with the PNP draw, obviously we anticipate more draws in the same week, and Wednesday did not disappoint, and we had a long-awaited education category draw as well. The score thankfully dropped to 462 with 2,500 invitations being issued. Again, refer back to the ATIP notes that we have discussed earlier, I think a month or so back. In that, I showed you that IRCC, through that ATIP notes, had discussed about issuing roughly 3,000 invitations for education category. We already had 1,000 invitations earlier this year. Now they've issued out 2,500 more. So this, I would anticipate, this is pretty much it for education category for this year. At least that's what those ATIP notes would indicate. Of course, IRCC is the boss who can say what they have in store, but going by the way things are, I would say this is pretty much it for education category for this year. The scores did drop. Thankfully, this was at 462. This has further given fuel to people who are selling those courses. That ECEA courses, early childhood educator assistant courses, those are obviously being fueled. Now they are all in the hyper mode, trying to sell more of these courses. So 2-3 courses being sold right now: PSW, early childhood educator assistant, etc., etc. So yeah, always know that buying these courses or getting into these courses, the PSW, the early childhood educator, these courses do not make you eligible for anything, nothing. On the contrary, be very careful, be aware that your work permit may not always allow you to study. So be very careful with your work permit conditions. Any program, if you are studying in person, if you are studying even for 6 months, even for a shorter duration, there is a condition and a clause on your work permit which says you can't study. Now I know there are so many videos, I know there are so many places where IRCC has said it's fine if you study and if it is less than 6 months, but we have also seen a couple of instances where IRCC has refused applications saying you cannot study if you are on a work permit. So be very careful. But anything that you study which is online, absolutely fine, no problem. But be aware when you're doing these courses, PSW course, ECEA course, health assistant course, health administrator course, these courses do not help you with anything except they may help you land a job, they may help you find a job. So just by doing a 6 months course, you are not going to become eligible. After doing, to do this course, I'm just reading something what somebody said. After doing these courses, make sure you have the work experience, which is what will make you eligible. The work experience is important. Now, in many cases, you don't have to do these courses in Canada at all. Don't fall for this trap. Don't buy into this. I'm trying to be polite when I'm trying to choose my words, but don't buy into these scam courses. These scam courses are not the one which will make you eligible. For example, early childhood educator assistant, there is no requirement that you do a program from a Canadian or whatever. Do an online course from a different country. It doesn't matter. It will cost you only what, 8,000-10,000 rupees to do an online course, early childhood educator assistant course from India, online, right? And it can still help you land a job. It will still validate the requirement of you having a certification that you must have completed. No problem. Why would you spend 8,000, 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 kind of ridiculous amounts paying all these scammers who are trying to sell these courses, who give you education online? Why would you do that? So be careful when you buy into these narratives of how these will help you. So education draw, as you are already aware, we spoke about it. 462 was the score, which was pretty good because the scores finally dropped. And trade draw, this was a big one. This is something which I also have been talking about. Look at the score, 505. I mean, can you believe that score? Last year, when the trade category draw happened, was it 435 or 436? That number, 435, 436, believable, understandable, good score. I'm not sure why it was at 505. Can you think of why it was at 505? Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, they included, instead of just 10 knock codes last year, now they had 25 knock codes, 25 different occupations that were included, including category of cooks. Why did they include cooks in the trade category? They could have made a separate category for cooks, right? If they really wanted to include them, they could have included cooks with the food and agriculture category, but they included cooks with the trade category. And I am not sure how many actual trades people got invited in this specific draw. Why? Because as far as, okay, sorry guys, a lot of people are saying your voice is not clear, video is not clear, voice is very choppy. Well, I apologize. I am not streaming from my regular location, and I'm using the fastest network possible. Can't make much changes while the live stream is already on. If I do, I will get disconnected, and then reconnecting is going to be a big issues. I apologize, and obviously for the next time I will try and make a better connection possible if that happens. But at this point of time, yeah, I have to continue with this one. I really apologize. Talking Hi guys, if you can hear me, can you just drop a message so I know if you can hear me? I'm not sure what exactly has gone wrong. I'm still trying to figure out here. Okay, something's working. Da-da-da. Okay, just can you drop me a message if you can hear me? Oh, this is tricky. You can now see me at all. If you can, all good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, working. Thank you. Okay, I lot of things not working right now. Uh, just trying to figure out a better way of this one. Just got a different camera on. Hopefully, this will hold till we can finish today's live stream, and then obviously I can sort this out. Thank you so much. Completely lost track of what I was trying to tell you guys. Let me just see how this one can roll. Okay, trade occupations, cooks, and God bless all the cooks. Hopefully, we can. But the problem with the cooks and the category there was that with the cooks, a lot of people who were not cooks, even they got into the food counter attendants, the food services managers. Everybody suddenly became a cook. And that is what made the whole cook pool explode. Therefore, you having much higher pool distribute. I mean, the number of people in the pool. And what this is one of the biggest reasons why you have the scores so high. Back to the same old ATIP notes that we were talking about earlier. With the same old ATIP notes, what it also indicated that as far as cooks are, or rather as far as the trade category is concerned, they are looking to issue roughly 3,300 invitations. Now, with the 3,300 invitations, with 1250 gone, you have roughly 1750 plus 3. Give it about 2,000 more invitations in the bag. With those 2,000 invitations, if they are to issue all of them together, and I hope they do, you may have a score in 490s. Again, this is going with what has happened in the past. Again, with the cooks. Now, there was another set of ATIP notes that was shared by another colleague, Mandeep Lidar, and in that it was indicated that IRCC themselves are very concerned with the high representation of cooks in the trade category, and they themselves are looking at ways and means of trying to issue a draw without including the cooks in the draw. But apparently they couldn't think of a way to do that, and therefore you have the draw the way it is. And that's the that's how it has played out. Unfortunately, a lot of people, even the genuine cooks, are suffering because of this whole issue. But I guess this is how it has to roll. Now, what this is doing for us is, and this is where it becomes very interesting. For scores above 501. Now, when you have a score of 501 and above, and the pool breakdown or pool distribution shows you 24,870. It then gives you a glimpse of how many people are there in the pool, of course, but it also gives you a glimpse of, if you see week on week distribution. So 2 weeks back, it was roughly sitting at about, the number of people who have joined the pool is not that high. You would have thought that a lot of people would have joined, a lot of people would have, gotten added into the pool with 501. But this pool breakdown, which is as of 14th of September, tells you that the number isn't really that large as at least I was quite worried. I was thinking this was going to shoot up to 25, 26,000. It hasn't really gone up to that high a number. What do we really need or want now? Now, can the next draw cycle, which is going to be, when is that next draw cycle? Next draw cycle is, I think, on 30th. Yeah, the 29th of September week. Now, in that particular week, so basically you're expecting a draw on the 1st of October, 2nd of October, 3rd of October, that 3 days, first 3 days of October. Of course, a PNP draw in end of September as well. The issue here is that we really now need to see IRCC continuing with the CEC draws. And what about the CEC draws is that I'm just trying to sort of figure out the right things to say, because I don't want to say things which might not come off right. There are 25,000 people in the pool. The total number of people that are in the target for this year is roughly 82,000 at the federal high skilled, right? Now, 82,000 in Canada priority or in Canada focus, 82,000, roughly 82,000 people. With this 82,000 people, so far IRCC has only issued about 20,000 invitations. And with this 20,000 invitations, I would anticipate that there should be, I mean, even though it looks quite unrealistic, even looks that it might not be possible, and we still have we have 3 more months to go, but I'm quite hopeful that there should be at least 15 to 20,000 invitations in the bag for CEC. At least that's the least that I'm thinking, minimum number. I hope it's more than that. I hope somebody in IRCC wakes up and conduct some back-to-back draws like they have done in the past. With this 15 to 20,000 invitations, I would assume the scores should, at some point of time within this year, hopefully, get into the high 510s. That is what I would anticipate for the CEC. I know it's looking very, very gloomy, dark, not realistic, not possible kind of a thing. I can, the numbers are on the wall, right? I mean, that's how they're looking at. But I would still be I would still be hopeful, and in the given scenario, I would still anticipate that there is that chance. Because, and again, I'm talking not because I'm going, all woo-woo in my head. I'm talking primarily on the basis that they do have the targets, they do have the quotas, they have to meet those numbers. Now, yes, the government is under tremendous pressure to reduce the immigration quotas, no doubt about it. Yes, they wish to reduce. Yes, they are looking to drop the numbers down. They're already reducing the temporary residents. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, it's all over. The number of international students are less. The number of work permits are less. They're trying to now shut down or close down or bring some more stricter measures on the temporary foreign worker program, which is your LMIA work permits. So those steps are being taken. But at the same point of time, as far as permanent resident numbers are concerned, even those numbers are being brought down. Even they're trying to decrease those numbers as well. So I won't be surprised if they don't really touch 82,900 for this year. But obviously, the number of invitations that you are now going to be seeing are not, what am I thinking? They are not going to be for 2025. This year's targets are probably already met. We are already now looking at the 2026 targets. And that number drops by about 7,000 people. So you're still in the range of about 75,000 plus people. Now, with 75,000 plus people, you would technically need to issue roughly 50 to 52,000, 55,000 invitations only for that category. give or take, people who decline ITAs, people whose applications get rejected, refused, etc., etc., and you add to that 2.23 component as to the successful number of invitations, multiply by 2.23, as in because each ITA would contain, successful ITA would have more than one family member, not all, but on an average. So we calculated the rate of 2.23 given the past data set. With all that, I just don't see any scenario. I don't see where they do not issue more invitations for CEC. It's just not technically, mathematically possible, unless, of course, IRCC has already decided on some drastic measures that they are going to take, that they will not issue anymore, which I don't think is realistic. I don't think that's the way they are looking to go, because if that was the case, they would not be issuing invitations for a lot of other programs as well. Francophone, they are not holding back. On the contrary, the number of Francophone invitations is quite high and is continuing to be high. And I do anticipate there will be more Francophone draws in the remainder of the 3 months as well, is because they have already identified that the number of refusals in the Francophone draw is also very high. This refusals is for different reasons, and it is probably targeting one specific country within the Francophone community, where a lot of people who are French speakers come from, and that is, I think, Cameroon, that has been named on one of the ATIP notes. And it specifies that because of very high number of refusals, if they have to meet their target, they will have to issue more invitations. So they've been very aggressive in trying to send out the invitations for Francophone. So expect more invitations for Francophone as well. But as far as express entry CEC is concerned, now I've heard of this narrative that fake profiles are being created because of some consultant mafia. Now, no matter how I see it, no matter how I look at it, I do not see any consultant gaining advantage. Now, for somebody to say that the only reason consultants, or I don't know, whoever is creating fake profiles, is so that they will be able to sell more LMIAs. Now, how does that mafia know, or those few people know, that because they will create more fake profiles, because more people will not get, so people will come running only to them to buy their LMIs? It's not like there is a group of 4, 5, 10, 20 consultants who are ruling the entire Canada in terms of they are the ones who are selling all the LMI. It's not that. I mean, yeah, it sounds very, very Bollywoodish, syndicatish kind of a thing, but yeah, not happening. Yes, I'm not saying that there are no fake profiles at all. There would be, but that number is going to be very, very small. And those fake profiles are to do with people who get very excited, who get very inspired when they hear from their friends, relatives, etc., that they created some profile, and after that, once they got the ITA, they were able to update ABC. Very recently, I saw one of the candidates who did get an ITA because they input random English test results, dates, and scores, right? Just created a profile. They got an ITA. Now they're running around trying to do an English language test so that they can get the scores and go ahead with the ITA. Now, mind you, this is 100% misrepresentation, because if you have received an ITA by disclosing fraudulent random number of an English test report or random numbers on your English scores, IRCC can always come back and ask you for the report, because mind you, they will still have the, every time you enter something in your XT profile, it leaves a digital footprint. IRCC can still go back and check and validate whether you really did have that that test report that you have input in your profile. Don't go around playing with IRCC nowadays. This is not your old IRCCs of 2021, 2022, right, where everything was good. This is a different version of IRCC. This is version 3.0, right? They are not in the mood of playing games. Don't mess with this IRCC. If this is an FAFO, right, you will, yeah, I don't want to be saying things. You will then do things, and then you will find out what IRCC is really up to. I mean, people who have been submitting application with spouse not accompanying, ask them. Until few months back, this was a valid strategy. You could register your spouse as not accompanying. This has been happening from ever since Express Entry started. People were always doing it. So it was never a question. Now, things are completely different. So therefore, people, even if you are creating a fake profile, why are you creating a fake profile? What benefit is it giving you? By inputting ridiculous or just random details, if you think you will get an ITA, then what are you going to do? Are you going to be able to complete your application? No, right? Why create profile? There are still people who think they can create multiple profiles. So I'll create one profile with spouse accompanying. I will create one profile with spouse not accompanying. I will create one profile with the knock code ABCD. I will create another profile with knock code XYZ. And I know of a couple of people who have really, given a piece of my mind to when they have created so many profiles. Don't you understand, or don't you realize that this is all digital, all electronic, record? Everything is there. How long do you think it will take for IRCC to identify it is the same person who has created so many profile with different backgrounds, information in terms of different knock codes, spouse accompanying, not accompanying. In one you are showing you are in a trade category, in one you are showing in your education category, in one you are showing you're in STEM category. Really, do you really want to play around right now in this mood that IRCC has? And then once you will then get your PFL and your refusal, and then you will go around making Reddit posts and blaming IRCC for having ruined your life. Really, is that the way you want to go? So please don't do that. And also, another problem is with people who are declining ITAs. First of all, don't create a profile if you're not eligible, right? Don't be so stupid. And if you are creating a profile, please make sure all that information is correct. And then if you do get an ITA, don't rush to your friends who have zero clue of what they are saying, because it's very easy for anybody to give you advice, right? I mean, you go on Facebook forums, you go on Reddit forums, anybody can tell you anything, and you blindly follow them, and you just go ahead and decline your ITA. Don't be stupid. Don't do that. Decline ITAs only in situations which are absolutely outside your control. Okay, for example, not getting your PCC on time is not the reason to decline your ITA. You can still submit your PCC. You still submit your application with explanation that you applied for PCC, provide proof that ITA sooner than you have completed your work experience. For example, Canadian experience class, you get your points in the 11th month, right? Foreign work experience, you get your points in the 11th month. So you get a month earlier, but that's not your fault. It's the system glitch, because the system has been designed to give you points a month earlier, as in the way the system has been programmed. It's not your fault. You are not misrepresenting. You're not doing anything wrong. And I have already did on my Twitter account as well, information from IRCC itself, where they are saying, they are acknowledging, they are accepting that this is IRCC's technical issue. Continue with your application. Please don't decline. Add a letter of explanation if you want to, but continue only after completing your valid work period, not before. After. Very important. So if there are any information which you have to change, the name of the company, right? You put ABC, but actually it is ABC Limited. Don't decline your ITA. Just make that change. You earlier showed your knock code as an accountant, but you're not an accountant. You are a bookkeeper. No problem. This is not an issue. Change your knock code. Add a letter of explanation. You thought you were a software engineer. You chose the knock code, but your roles and responsibilities match more with a web developer or a software developer or a cybersecurity analyst or whatever that might be. Don't decline the ITA. Add a letter of explanation that this is what you thought earlier. Now, when you're reviewing, you find that this is a better match. Therefore, but don't randomly decline ITAs. It is hurting a lot of people, especially now, where people are just hanging on by tenterhooks. Don't decline your ITA, please. So this is what's happening right now. Don't create multiple profiles. Don't declare false information. Don't create these random profile information. Don't do that, please. Right now, people are very, very sensitive about this. Anyways, moving on. PNP draws, we did have a few of those as well. Manitoba conducted a draw on the 18th of September, and they issued 911 letters of advice to apply. And this one was a pretty cool, this is a very good one, because out of these, they had 847 invitation already issued additional work permits, or they had provided them with this work permits, so that these people whose work permits were expiring, they could continue to be in Canada, continue to work in Canada. So Manitoba had supported them. This Manitoba probably is the only province who has stood by the people who have been making applications in Manitoba, who have stood by the people in their province to support them, to make sure that those people don't suffer and those people don't get impacted. So this was a good one. They issued 847 letters of advice to apply to those guys. So this was pretty cool. New Brunswick, they did conduct some draws. 481 invitations under the New Brunswick experience, 389 under the New Brunswick graduates, 132 under the Francophone skilled worker stream, and under the express entry streams, they invited about 50 people. But specific knock codes were included in all of them. As you can see, 42201 was they ruled the roost on this particular one. Again, part of the healthcare category as well. In other PNP updates, Alberta managed to get some additional nomination slots, raising their total allocation for this year to 6,400, which is pretty. Their nominations easily this year. Prince Edward Islands has released the tentative dates for their draws for the remainder of the year. It's going to be 18th September, 16th October, November the 20th, and on the 18th of December. So please make sure your expressions of interest are updated. If you haven't, if there are any changes, or if you are ready, then make sure you please do submit your applications or expressions of interest. Now, this one is a pretty big one. Trump signs proclamation imposing $100,000 annual fee per year fee on the H-1B visa applicant. So this one is going to be very, very interesting. This one also may have a direct impact on Canada, and I would like to see how Canada is able to take advantage out of this one, because this one is going to be very, very interesting. At the end of the day, a lot of companies in Canada do obtain H-1B visas, and with this $100,000 fee, it is obviously going to impact a lot of companies, which basically means that there could be a possibility that more companies from the US might be looking to make a move, come to Canada. And then in Canada itself, you might see some more programs that might be launched. Again, all hypothetical at this point of time. But if this actually gets enforced, because right now it's a presidential order, unless there is a congressional order, or unless there is a Supreme Court order which restricts this, if this goes ahead, I think Canada is in an excellent position to take advantage of something like this. They can certainly encourage a lot of employers to make the move, come to Canada, and then hopefully help their employees get through with this one. This is going to be interesting to watch. Okay, this will be funny. All in selling and applying, under startup visas, they really got a big jolt. There are a massive 38,600 applications pending in startup visa queue, and their annual targets is only 1,000 to 2,000 per year, which basically tells you that there is going to be an official wait time of 420. Is ridiculous. I mean, how in the world are they ever? I mean, why don't they just shut the program down, right? In the sense of why don't they stop accepting any more applications? Because even now, there are so many people who are still selling startup visas, who are still promoting startup visas, and I only pity those people who are spending exorbitant amount of money and still trying to buy into this program. So please be very careful if you are one of those people who are. Other pilot programs, now look at it. Agri-food, they have achieved the 80% targets in the sense of their for this year. Startup visa only 4%. The economic mobility pathway 54%. Caregivers only 15%, which basically tells you that the wait time for caregivers at this point of time, the caregiver program, is 108 months. I'm not sure how in the world are they going to achieve that all these people. I mean, 108 months. I mean, what is that? What, 7 years processing time? Ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah, look at this, right? Caregivers in months, people who are submitting their application in first quarter of 2025, they have 84 months that they will be looking at. Crazy, really crazy. Okay, current inventory, again, for startup visas, the admissions, the yearly admissions this year so far is 1,300. The inventory of number of applications in the pool is 38,600. In contrast, caregivers, 4,200 they have already approved for this year, and 34,400 is the inventory that they have to process for this year. That's basically it. That's all I have for you for today in terms of the weekly roundup. Do connect with us on social media platforms. We're technically everywhere, basically. This video is so broken, but it's free advice, so I should still watch it. Well, I absolutely apologize. I'm running speed test again and again. My speed test shows pretty good. I'm not sure which aspect of my connection has really given up on me today. I really apologize. It doesn't really happen this, but yeah, today it's completely. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. That's all I can take. I'm really sorry about this. I'm going to do the questions and save you the grief of watching this really bad stream very quickly. Sunena says, in Canada, actually the first one, there's no question. So in Canada on implied status with restoration, can I apply for a study permit here? GC Key says, I am not pick Canada as a resident. Should I choose India and explain in my SOP? Well, if you are in Canada and you are on an implied status as a visitor with restoration, you cannot make an inside Canada study permit application. While being in Canada, you can still apply for a study permit from outside Canada, but you can't do an inside Canada application. So that's why you can't choose it. CNS of 518 in CEC. Are there any chances? Well, I'm quite hopeful. Let's see if it continues with the draw. And because I personally feel 15 to 20,000 invitations are due still for express entry in CEC. And if those do get released, then I feel 518 for surely has a good chance. I'm combining CEC experience. 1 3-month employer hasn't given a job letter. I have a contract, T4s, bank statements with unanswered emails. Can I use LOE documents email? I do not know what your documents include, but if you can provide 3 things. Period of work, as in from which date to which date you are working. So all of that has to be included. Your duties and responsibilities and the proof of your payment. As long as you can bring all of this information, you have your T4s, your pay stubs, proof of salary, other letters of your employer, then you may be able to take a chance with it. Mind you, IRCC is quite in a foul mood nowadays. They may not accept. It's very discretionary, but you may still have a chance if you can provide that 3 things that I just told you about. Under CEC for personal history, is it okay if job A ends 2023 December and job B starts 2024-01, or must be shown in same month? I used December Jan format before. Is that a problem? Lelia, I don't know if it is Lelia or Lilia, whatever it is. End of the day, Leah, the point is that you can absolutely show personal history with subsequent month as you're starting. So you can end an activity in this month and start the next month's activity from next month. That is not a problem. The start and the end doesn't have to be in the same month. At least the system is not going to prompt you like that. So as long as you are in a consecutive month, that's absolutely fine. Out of status, but within 90-day restoration, should I restore status before leaving, or can I exit without visitor record? Will it impact future PR? This is a good question, and this is something which I wanted to address for a very long time, and I'm glad you asked. Well, for some reason, people believe that they have 90-day period in Canada after their status expires to just be in Canada. So somehow they feel that is that 90 days period that IRCC is giving them as a gift, that this is the period time that you can continue to be in Canada and you can leave after this is your restoration period. That is not true at all. It is a period. 90 days is a period of time given to you in order for you to restore your status. It is not a period of time given to you to continue staying in Canada. And if you wish to stay, then you stay. You don't wish to stay, then you leave. None of that. Check your permit. You check your study permit, check your work permit. It tells you there is a leave by date. So the date by which you have to leave Canada is all mentioned there. So the period after that, the 90 days period after that, is not so that you can continue being in Canada and that is your extra period of time to continue staying in Canada. No, not at all. Absolutely not happening. This is the 90 days that you can restore your status. So if you are choosing to then leave within this 90 days period, please apply for restoration, apply for a visitor record, and then leave if you wish to leave. Now, a lot of people might not agree with me. That's saying, look out, I'm trying to tell you what you can and cannot do. Nowhere on the Canadian immigration law rule book, IRPA, it says that you can continue to stay in Canada for another 90 days after your status expires. Nowhere. It's not a legal period of stay. You will be out of status. You can be subject to enforcement action if you come into some negative interaction with RCMPs. You will in future have a problem if you're making another new temporary residence applications, because now you're being in Canada for a legal period of time. So please be aware, and if you're choosing to leave Canada, please apply for restoration before you leave. Can we expect another trade draw with cooks included under CRS 500 in upcoming week? Well, yes, funny. I certainly expect another trade category draw, and whether cooks are included in it or not, I don't know. Last I checked, IRCC was looking for ways to exclude the cooks, but obviously it seems they did not find the way at this point of time, and therefore at least I anticipate another draw, and approximately 2,000 invitations is what I anticipate for a trade category. And until they take some specific steps to remove the cooks from the trade category, I think they would be included. Leah says, for address history, if I travel between countries, is a 1 or 2 day gap okay? Also, I visited many countries for under 1. You need to list all of them. Yes, you need to list all the countries. Number one, this gap is acceptable. It's fine, as in so I'm not really sure when you say 1 day or 2 days gap. So you depart from one country on the day of the departure and you arrive in the other country on the day of arrival. So I'm not sure what gap you are referring to. Ideally, there should not be a gap because you have to be in one country or the other, right? So the way to do this would be, you show, for example, you have traveled from Canada to France, and from France you have traveled to Dubai. Your date of departure from Canada until the day of departure from France would be your travel date to France, and then from day of departure from France, and then your date of departure from Dubai would be your travel to Dubai. So those will be the days how you will stitch together your travel history. And yes, please list all travel countries. When are we starting coffee with Kubeir? Waiting. Well, Ritesh, it's so a lot of people are interested in joining that kind of a conversation. So we had to finally give up. I thought people had better use of their time, didn't want to bother them with my sob stories. Currently $20 an hour for 2.3 years, rising to $28 from late September. Do I qualify for OINP employer job offer foreign worker stream immediate after raise? Well, Umesh, one thing that you must understand is that in order to qualify for OINP, your job date, whenever that will be, so basically from the date your application is approved for nomination, that is the date when your salary should meet the median wage requirement. Currently, whether you are drawing that salary or not, it doesn't matter. The job offer salary in a future date, I mean, it could be, you could already be drawing $28 for all, that matters. But the requirement is that for OIN employer offer stream, you have to meet the requirements. It must meet the median wage for the date where, by the time Ontario issues you the nomination, effective that date when you're working with that employer, your salary should meet the median wage requirement. That's the condition. So if that is happening, if that is possible for you, then you would absolutely be eligible. Working as a PSW, job duties match with 33102, but I'm going home to give care to clients by but not long-term care. Does this job fall under 302 or 4401? The chances are this falls under 44101. If you're going home to home, then you're providing home care settings, or you're providing a care giving under the home care setting. So please check the differentiation between both 33102 and 44101 to be absolutely sure. One of the biggest differentiation is the fact of what kind of care you are providing, and that would differentiate between these two knock codes. So please be very careful with them. But of course, one is eligible in express entry, the other was not. So therefore, you have to be very, very careful. But if it is under a home care setting, chances are it is probably going to be 44101, but your knock code will be determined by your matching job roles and responsibilities. Will IRCC cancel our common law status if we move back to India and live in different districts? We have been living together for 2 years in Canada. IRCC is not the one who is canceling your status. It is you. If you do not together, then you are no longer common law. That is how it is defined. It is not IRCC who's canceling your status. It is you. If you choose to no longer live together for whatever the reason might be, if you're living in different districts, different cities, different houses, different buildings, you are no longer in a common law relationship, and therefore that relationship ends. Common law relationship ends. So yeah, if there is any break in that relationship, then that is impacting your application. But it's not IRCC who cancels your relationship or your status for that matter. What's going on with September Ontario Masters draw? There are rumors about returning application. Many of us are stressed. It's been a year. Well, one of the reasons why there's a delay, actually, it's not for September 24. It is actually from March 24 onwards. People have been waiting in the dip stage. And that is primarily because of the very, very small, limited number of nominations that are available with Ontario. They don't have too many. Plus, there has been a very high number of fraud activities that took place in 2024 with a lot of candidates, a lot of applicants, and Ontario has been particularly stricter and vigilant in trying to identify and root out those applications. So they've been primarily quite slow with those processes. Plus, they obviously sent out many more invitations than they actually were supposed to. So the chances are, once their quotas are reset towards the end of the year for the next year, they may go back to clearing out the inventory first. But yes, I understand the stress, but unfortunately, there is nothing that can be done about this. Expecting cutoff score in Ontario skill trades draw now. Well, the skill trade draw cutoff, if it was to happen now, would be high point of 504, and the low point will depend entirely on how many invitations they want to send out. There is no way for me to tell you what that would be. AMPR, my girlfriend is on a postgraduate work permit expiring in 1 month. She already has approved LMIA, but if we do marry before or after her postgraduate work permit expiring, would that keep her work permit open? Even if she get LMIA closed work permit? No. You being a PR and you getting married does not give any status change on the work permit. If you get married, you have to then apply for a spousal sponsorship. After you apply for spousal sponsorship, depending on her status, you would be eligible to apply for permit. But just because you're getting married does not automatically make her work permit closed or open or whatever. And if the postgraduate is expiring, work permit is expiring in 1 month, and you are still not married, obviously, then the recommendation is to have her apply for a closed work permit. And in future, whenever you do get married, at that point of time, you may go ahead and apply for an open work permit then, after you apply for sponsorship. Got PNP confirmation under Ontario in demand skills. Is this non-EE? Will adding spouse after marriage affect my application? In-demand skills stream, first of all, congratulations, you got your nomination, which is pretty cool. This is non-express entry. Yes, there is no points, there is no express entry here. So you will be doing your application non-express entry. And when you do get married, you will need to update IRCC through the web form that you are now married, and there will be no issues in you adding your spouse to your ongoing PR application. If someone is working for city municipality in Ontario, can city or municipality apply under OINP job stream as a business? Yes, they can, provided they are willing to support your application in the same manner any other business is looking to do, which in a lot of cases they might not be able to. But check with your employer. If they are willing to complete all the forms and documentation, then yes, they might be able to. missed adding genuine remote work experience in study permit, but added that experience in work permit application have all the proof. Any issue? Yes, it could have prospective concerns and issue. Well, if it was genuine, the question is, why did you not add it in your study permit? Because that is when it mattered the most. It's a good thing that you added that work experience in the work permit application, but that is not of real importance. The first primary importance is at the time of your study permit, because that was come to Canada. You hadn't really come to Canada then. And had you disclosed that work experience, there is a possibility IRCC may have not approved your study permit. So that is considered as material misrepresentation. And yes, it can have potential issues. So the point is not that you have all the proof. That is not the point. We are not the fact that your work experience is genuine or not. That is not the criteria. That is not the question. The question is, why did you not disclose it? Why did you hide it? So withholding the information, that is the problem. Whether it is genuine or not, that is not the problem. I hope that clarifies. What's the next skilled trade cutoff likely going to be? My score is 502. When is the next draw? And will the 3,300 cap stay or increase? I can't tell you whether the cap will stay or increase. I am hoping that the cap will stay or probably increase. So therefore, next draw probably of 2,000 invitations. And I think the scores, again, depending on how many people in the pool, in the 480s, 490s range. Yeah, could be in the 480s range, because that's where a lot of people are in the pool. I'm on work permit and expires in October. I am planning to apply for masters after doing bachelor's from Queen's, and I have 3 years of experience. My score is 510. What are my options now? If you're planning to apply for masters, you look at that. If you're already in Canada, look for employers who can support your application, learn French, look at RCIP employers, go back to your home and add foreign experience. These are pretty much the only options. Of course, if you study masters, you will not get another work permit in Canada. I hope you're already aware of that. But you might be eligible in master's graduate stream in Ontario. And of course, after completing masters, you would get 15 extra points for the completing the education, because you already have 15. For masters, you get 30, so you'll get that 15 extra points. But again, depending on your age, you might also lose points for age. What about CEC draw? Will the score come to 520? Yes, in my opinion, it should come down to 520. As I said earlier, I expect 15 to 20,000 invitations more in the bag, and I do expect those to be issued out. So yeah, I would say yes. I have an address discrepancy in my son's passport. I have 45 days left to apply for MPNP, and I've received the LA 2 weeks ago. Should I go for correction in the address, or should I apply as it is? Oh, please go ahead and apply as it is. The correction in the address can be addressed to date. It's not going to be a problem. And if it is really bothering you so much, if it's concerning you so much, you can always add a letter of explanation. One alphabet, one letter difference is not going to make any difference, especially because it's in the passport. You can still mention the correct address in the application yourself. I had 6 months of paid internship, foreign experience. If I go back home and work another 6 months, will it be counted as 1 year of foreign experience? I'm eligible under CEC. Yes, it would be counted as 1 year of experience. Once you are eligible for Canadian experience class, you are under CEC, then your foreign work experience need not be continuous. There is no requirement for it to be continuous. It could be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 8 months, 4 months, any kind of combinations, as long as it is under valid tier code, paid, and within the last 10 years, all of it is good to go. As per ATIP solution 1, cap cooks in all draws, remove them in subsequent draws in given year. Do you think they can implement latter, failing one? Well, of course, they can implement whatever they wish to. I think they are struggling with a way of processing it at this point of time, considering that they're already coming to the end of the year. They may, I think, continue with the draws the way they are this year and make a more drastic change by completely culling away with the cooks category or cook knock code from the trade category coming next year. That's what I would think. Last trade draw 505. What would be the next Ontario trade draw range? Is this any update? I just answer that question. The high point will be 504. Low point nobody can say because we don't know how many people are there in the pool. I have 72010 2-year work experience with file into trade draw 442 work. I can't really understand what you're trying to say. Would be a good option to get LMI from employer under 72010. Well, 442 certainly looks like a score which is quite low. Ontario skill trade draw, if that is what you're hoping for, very difficult to say when Ontario may conduct a draw and if they will invite 72010 and if the low point is going to be at 442. Very, very difficult. All of these are very speculative. There is no way of predicting either the score or the knock code. And if your work permit is expiring, then yes, if your employer is willing to support you, then having them give you an LMIA so that you can continue working in Canada would be not a bad way to go. I think it would be a good idea. Postgraduate work permit, June 2023, worked in a restaurant for 3.5 months in India, over 3,120 hours without 30-hour cap. Does this count as 2 years Canadian work experience? Does this count as, I'm not able to understand what is being said here. If you were gone for 3.5 months, that 3.5 to connection. So if you were working since June 2023, so June, July, August, September, if you take away these 3 months and if you still have 30 hours a week, I don't know what you mean by without 30-hour cap. I don't understand that. So you can count maximum of 30 hours per week. So if you count maximum of 30 hours per week and you remove your 3.5 months from your total work experience because you were not in Canada, count the remainder period. As long as you are 3120 hours for 2 years, then you will be good to go. French category draws are the application inland. Does it include people from outland as well? Yes, of course. For French category draws, there is no condition or restriction about inside and outside Canada. Everybody is included. As long as you have the scores, then you would get invited. Machine operator and plastic industry, when will OINP give general draw, get invitation for in demand, or should I plan something else? Well, I can't tell you. I wish I knew the answers to this question, when they will call, what will be the score, which knock codes will be called. My God, can you imagine the kind of power I would have if I knew the answers to all those questions? But no, I'm sorry, but I do not have the answers to that question. I do not know which knock codes will be invited. I do not know when they will be invited. I do not know what their scores will be. And for your side, if your scores are not closer to what they have been inviting in the past and in conjunction with the draws happening, then it's always a good idea to have a backup plan available. Possibility of another healthcare draw. Well, I do feel there should be another healthcare draw. Probably, but not a very big one, might be a very small one, since they are pretty much at the end of their targets for this year for healthcare. Could be a 500 to 1,000 kind of a draw in healthcare, where the scores might stay a bit high because, they're not issuing too many invitations. But very difficult to predict the score because you don't know how many people are there in the pool. Well, this brings to an end a very painful live stream, because this one was a very bad live stream. I apologize again. I know that there was a lot of lag, a lot of problems. For the next one, I promise I will figure out whatever the issues are and hopefully have a much more smoother connection for my next live stream. Thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate your time and I value it. Thank you, and I shall see you next time.